Good evening.
What's up, buddy?
What episode? Episode some other number. I feel like we've been off for a little bit.
It's like 59 or something. Is it more than that? Maybe
59. Wow.
I'm scrambling, as you know.
I know. I got you.
I wasn't totally prepared. I forgot
I'm gonna
we had a
step up
live
my
stream.
game.
I'm
gonna
guilty.
step up my game and carry you.
I think, yeah. Sometimes you got to do that, buddy. I'm trying to get this over to my. What were you saying?
No, nothing. I'm saying 59th episode. It's a new year. Last week we did the what was it? The 22 in review. Got a lot done, and I think tonight we have an opportunity to kick the year off great. We got a great guest, Precinct 2 Councilor John Munson, is waiting along outside in the green room.
I got some email questions for him, actually.
Oh, do you? Yeah, I got a couple too.
Yeah.
Is it? By the way, is the green room heated?
Well, I don't know. I'm in Boca Raton. It's always heated. Well, actually, it's always the AC is always on here. That's for sure.
You're the man of 1,000 faces. Did you see my? Did you see my comment? What the hell?
Yeah. Well, 1 to 15. That's the benefit of having a father who was a photographer for 52 years, and I have all those. I look at me and my brothers have this childhood picture of us we've never seen. There's just thousands of us, and what I put out today was just a speckle of what is there, and I just decided, you know what? Let's just see what I could pull up from the year one when I was 1 year old to when I just turned 59. So, and I did it. I covered a nice vast of my majority of my life in those pictures.
You piqued my curiosity when you had that stupid top hat on and the cane. Where was that? Where did you take that picture? Do you remember?
That was a friend of mine, right? A friend of mine, Frankie Marr. All right, he lived it out. He was like the fourth McLean brother. He lived it out for a while. He was going to a prom with his girlfriend, and he had the tux, and he had the El Dorado, and he had the cane. You know, this is the early 80s. So, you know, that's when people wore the proms, right?
My next question was going to be, what was the car you were sitting on? But you already answered it.
It was an El Dorado. And so I just, I think my father was like, hey, you know, put this on, hold this. And I already had a beer in my hand, and it was the summertime, so I didn't have a shirt on. And that's where that picture came from. Yeah. Yeah. It's not like I walked around like that. That would be a little weird.
Well, I wouldn't put it past you now.
Yeah, I'm sure there were times. So yeah.
Now we got so big. I don't think we should bring John in shortly. No pressure, but we want to see if he drives numbers tonight. He was talking about talking to me earlier, hoping that we had he wants a lot of people to participate and ask questions.
Well, it's always as we've said from the beginning, the live stream itself, it comes on Monday nights at 8:00, and it's always funny and what people are doing. And it's not about the numbers of the live stream itself. It's the after views, as we always say. And the after views average a couple hundred a week, Sometimes we've had 500.
We've had 7.
We had one week we had 700 after views. So, and you know what? While we're on that, Todd and I had a discussion yesterday in regard to the Facebook group page, and we came to the conclusion that we're going to kind of reel it in. I was guilty of it. Todd was guilty of it, and other people followed suit. It's a Winthrop Facebook group. It's not a national Facebook group. And we were talking, I think, too much about national politics. And that, I believe, drove some people away from it. I always say Facebook groups inevitably turn into dumpster fires no matter what. But before ours gets out of hand, I think so from now on, sorry, it's not a freedom of speech thing. It's a Winthrop thing. And we're not going to accept posts about national politics on the Winthrop Votes Facebook group anymore. We're going to keep it local. We want to know more what's going on in the town, if people have stuff to say about that, rather than, what the president's doing at the border and what he's not doing. It's those things are relevant, but not to what we want to do. Not to what we want to do.
Not what we're trying to accomplish here. Goes
again,
against the local politics.
Yeah, local politics. I was more than guilty of it. And it's, you get caught up in the moment sometimes, and it's these topics are passionate to people. And talking national politics, once again, does not really suit what we want to accomplish in 2023. We really want to keep it more focused. We don't want the group or the show to get out of hand, and we're pretty good at that, I believe, Todd, not talking national politics. We have our moments, but it's a very small percentage. As a matter of fact, John Munson quizzed us at the beginning before we went on the air.
Where is he? Get him out of the green room. He's eating all the donuts.
I just want to say this before he comes on. He quizzed us, and he asked us, and he said, both of you answer at the same time, how much of your live stream do you talk on national politics? And he gave us literally the 1, 2, 3. Todd said 3%. I said 5%. So we're kind of right in there together. We really are avoiding that, and we'll try to avoid that 3 or 5% even more in 2023. We want to make this show better. We want to make it more listenable, watchable. We're still going to go on our rants. That's just in our nature. But we want to always improve this. We don't want to get stagnant. So there'll be some changes coming up in how we do the show, because you have to progress. You have to keep moving forward. And with all that said, do you want to bring him on?
With all that said, so my Precinct 2 Councilor John Munson has agreed to join us for a conversation. So let's welcome John. Good evening, John. Coming to you live from somewhere in his house.
Wow, that's a crowd you got there, guys.
I don't want to dox him. I don't want to tell
audience.
them
We got a big audience, John.
So, John, awesome to have you. Thank you so much for
Thanks
joining
for
with the
me,
votes tonight.
cool.
Yeah. Why don't listen, tonight's we have Scott will attest to this. We have political guests all the time. We've had Jim, we've had Jeff Turco, we've had some of the candidates. We like to give you guys time to tell us, well, in this case, a little bit about how your time on the council to date, anything you want to say about it. The floor is yours. Maybe you can give yourself a brief introduction for anyone that doesn't know you, and we'll take it from there.
I appreciate it. Well, thanks again for having me, guys. This is cool. I applaud you guys for actually a show now for, is it well over a year? Are you guys
going
having
on?
your one?
Yeah.
So that's
Starting
amazing.
year 2, I
59
think.
episodes is pretty incredible. So I give you kudos for that. And it sounds like what your real intention is to, move Winthrop forward. And so I give you guys, kudos for that. I mean, that's what I'm trying to do too. That's why I'm in the town council, and that's why I'm here. I mean, it was funny because when I was talking to Todd, and Todd and I have been hanging out for years, and because our kids are friends and have played sports together. So we've been going on road trips and doing breakfasts and lunches and games for years. So, one of the times when he was telling me about this show, and I was like, so who's this Scott guy? He doesn't seem very Winthrop. And
I'm old Winthrop,
buddy. You know what Todd said to me, Scott? I'll tell you what he said. He goes, Scott's more Winthrop than you'll ever be. And I was like, are you shitting me? You sure about that? I own a business here. I own a home here. My kids go to school here.
Fair
my
point.
parents even here.
Good point. All good points.
But I was there since 1970.
1970.
Yeah, we were there. We
All right,
we
so
moved to Winthrop from Mission Hill, Roxbury, the projects in Mission Hill in Roxbury. We moved, my mother and my two brothers and I moved. We lived on Trident originally. So it was actually 1968 we were in Winthrop.
Year I was born.
And my brother's still there. So, you know, legacy. With legacy, Winthrop.
You got me beat.
But
I
I'll
was
tell you,
born in '73, so there was no way I could compete with that date anyway.
I'll tell you what, I love Winthrop. I took Winthrop with me everywhere I went in the world. When I left Winthrop to go in the military, I took Winthrop with me, and there is no town like it. The people I talked to from all over the country, when I was in the Air Force for 10 years, I was overseas, I was at 3 bases stateside. I met a lot of people, and they said they've never heard stories like the stories I told about friendships in Winthrop. Look, I was out on post one night in the Philippines, in the middle of nowhere, with my dog. I was a patrol dog handler, and around, I don't know, and it's like, 12 hours ahead in the Philippines. So I get a call over the radio to expect, I have a phone call coming in when I get off in the morning at 8 o'clock at we call the doghouse. Now, this is 1988, right? There's no cell phones, no computers. So I'm getting a phone call. It only means one of two things. Someone hit the lottery or someone died, right? So I go all night just worried, like, what the hell? I get in the morning, the phone rings at the doghouse. It's my friends calling. They found me. They found me.
Were they drunk?
Yeah. Yeah, they were drunk. It's now 8 o'clock in the morning, which is 8 o'clock at night. So that's Winthrop. Like, they found me. How did you? I'm in the Philippines. That's Winthrop. That's friendships in Winthrop. That's growing up in Winthrop. Have you guys
been on Facebook on that Remember Winthrop When?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my
That's
God.
Bob, isn't it? That's the mayor.
Hit the end of that rabbit hole for like, what's that?
I thought it was Bob, but that's not Bob.
No. There's a Remember When.
And then you tell your own story, and you tell your own little tidbits, your own facts. I literally couldn't stop reading it. And it went from like funny to like, it felt like a Norman Rockwell painting in life, real life. It's just so wholesome and so good. I mean, ice skating over by Ingleside, like all these little soda jerks and, cool little restaurants and, produce. I mean, it's like perfect small town America. Not perfect, because nothing's really perfect. No. I will say though, I grew up in a small town up in Maine, and it does remind me of Orono, where I grew up. It's cozy, people know each other, people give a damn. Sometimes there's pros and cons to that. Sometimes everyone knows your business and you don't necessarily want that. But there's, to me, I think it's an amazing town, and I'm like I said before, I'm all in, and I'm excited to keep on trying to help. It's just going on 1 year as a town councilor. So, but before I was a town councilor, I've been paying my dues. I've been coaching the kids' sports for, over a decade, probably over 15 different teams. And I've been having community events over at my studio and gallery over at Beacon. And, that's been going now for 15 years.
Nice.
So, I've done my fair share of trying to do different committees with the Winthrop Chamber of Commerce, and then, moving over to different committees. And so I'm always involved. I can't help myself. And now that the kids don't need me around the house as much because they're older, what else am I going to do? I got to do something productive with my time. So, and what's more entertaining than local politics,
What's been the biggest surprise so far for you, John?
When I first started the town council, it was a big learning curve, and there was like a holy shit. Like, I just opened the hood to a car that was like, oh, and then now it's starting to feel a little more like grounded. Now I feel like things are starting to, feel like it's possible to do good. It doesn't feel helpless. But like understanding the budget has been a big one for me. Like, we have a $70+ million budget. That's a big budget. And so understanding that, where the percentages go, the school dominates a lot of that, DPW dominates a lot of that, and you start to understand how the town is run. And it's been it's been interesting and a learning curve all throughout, and I'm sure I won't stop learning as long as I'm still a town councilor and even after.
It's a thankless job.
Yeah, for sure.
No, it really is. It really is. Any position that you run for where you're elected into it, it's usually ends up thankless. Not 100% thankless. You get some really good satisfaction out of it. Sometimes not everybody agrees with, what you're getting satisfaction out of, but
Yeah.
listen, the fact that you give your time to this, regardless of how you look at, we go after some of the councilors, and it's just natural. It's politics, but you can't take away from them the fact that they ran. You really can't take that away from them. You have to
It's
give
like
credit where
bad-mouthing
credit
a
is
coach
due.
that's coaching your kids. It's like, yeah, you didn't get a championship, but you know what? You were there. You helped those kids play and have fun and good memories. And you can't, beat somebody up for giving their time away for free. So
No, and so
I'm not completely, it's not totally free. We are getting paid a little bit.
So let me ask
I
you
know
that.
someone would question.
That's been a topic that Todd and I spoke on, probably starting around, I think, October. It kind of came up on the radar. And we are of the mindset that the councilors should get paid more than they are. And what you'll get is maybe, not saying more effort, but more motivation, a little more vested interest in what they're doing. Not that you guys don't, but if you're getting paid like it, then you have to have a self-expectation of doing so. What is your thoughts on that?
I'll just, in all seriousness, I think that, one of the problems that I think the ORC, the group that Todd was a part of, the, ordinance and, review committee, which actually looked at every part of that charter and a bunch of ordinances. And I think the whole problem they were trying to solve was, participation. We're always trying to get engagement from the town. We're always trying to get new volunteers to come in there and do their part. And it's hard. People are busy. The life is very tough now. You almost always have a 2-income earning family. So where's that free time going to come? You're exhausted after a long day, and you don't want to go and spend another 3 or 4 hours at a long ass meeting. It's hard. So when you throw some money at something, which is one of the biggest motivators in America, if not everywhere in the world,
Yeah.
in the world, then you're going to get more people involved. But I wouldn't do it on my watch. Because let me vote to get paid more. Of course,
No, you
that
should.
wouldn't look very good.
You should. I see no problem with that.
Well, and if I could say that was the conundrum, we were going to take it up. And I said, you know what? They know the hours they put in. They know how much work it is. That would be like me, trying to make up a price for, for building a car. I'd have no clue.
But
Right.
it would be more than what they're getting.
There's been some research done. There's another person I think is going to push this forward and make a suggestion as we're doing this ORC review. I think that there are some people that believe that it would help. And actually, it's just so coincidentally happened that towns here in Massachusetts have actually proposed pass, somewhere in the vicinity of, for a small town, I think that, you could see somewhere from like 5,000 to 8,000 a year wouldn't be that outrageous. The town council president, honestly, they're putting in like 30 to 40, if not more, per hours per week. That's nearly a full-time job, and that's a lot. And I don't think that person should do it without some more compensation. Otherwise, they're jeopardizing their own livelihood. And then
Kurt
you're
Millar
basically...
Kurt has the question, where will the money come from? Well, again, that's where the pros and cons, that's where the sometimes decisions are made that people aren't going to like, but like they always say, there's money somewhere.
Well, I'm going to
$73 million budget. So, you can find 50 grand, somewhere.
Yeah.
And I'm going to say this, okay? Override will always come up. And the problem is we'll always need an override, because no matter what we do, I'm not going to get into the specifics of the things we do, the business we do, but we have these things that we have to negotiate every 3 years, and they increase every year.
Yeah.
If we want to get beyond just level services and sometimes not level services, meaning we lose stuff, we would just have to override every single year. That is a mathematical fact that nobody wants to talk. We're never developing our way out of this. That's utter nonsense. It's not going to happen.
Yeah, no more
'Cause the
space.
more
We don't
you
have
bu-
enough room to grow that much.
Even if you did, look at the minutes, that won't be enough, because the more money that comes into the coffers, the more that the negotiations go, oh, look, more. Sorry, that's how it happens.
And John, you just said it. The infrastructure is stressed right now on development. Really is.
That's
I
right.
mean, I think that Tony Marino is a great town manager. I will say one of the greatest things we've done so far that I've been a part of in this town council is to appoint him, because I honestly think, or hire him, not appoint him, because I think he's sharp, and I think that he will find money where money is available. And
Yeah.
as far as development goes, I mean, that's his forte. That's where he started in his professional career. So I think he'll be able to really push the envelope on that one. And I think that he'll maximize it. I do think Winthrop is already a dense populated town. It's really, I mean, you don't want to make it a Somerville where everyone's like crammed in there and like, you know, so there's only so much you can do. And so Kurt's really going off over here. What do we got going on?
He's a frequent contributor to the show, as a matter of fact. He's a
good
money
thing.
guy.
It's a good thing.
He's our money guy.
He's
actively participating.
he's who the advertisers are paying for.
Yeah. We just don't want him to do his own show, because then he'll bump us off the air.
Oh no. Winthrop doesn't vote.
Winthrop votes for Kurt.
Winthrop votes for Kurt. So you brought up development. John, and I think you've heard my opinion more than one time. You tell me, what is, I mean, I hear this term get kicked around quite a bit. What is responsible, smart? What does that mean?
Well, I mean, right off the bat, the most important commodities and the things that we have that we can control and resources in this town is parking. If you can't responsibly develop with the people that you're developing for, then you're not being responsible. It's already too hard to find a spot. And also I think responsible development is, so if you have to look at the net benefit of a development. So if you're getting, you know, a bunch of new people and new families and a bunch of kids that are coming to the school system, yeah, it's great. You got some new growth. Now you've turned a 1 level into a 3 level, and you've got more, you know, tax revenue, but you just totally buried that tax revenue into a negative when you think about how much it costs per kid. So it has to be a smart, responsible development where you look at the pros and cons, the net benefit. And I really don't think that there's a lot of room for growth. I mean, we can go up in the center. It's already happening. There's no stopping it now that the CBD zoning has changed. There's a couple of spots that I think really could benefit from that wouldn't like hurt many people. Along the ocean front from the landing to where I used to live over by the high tide area, from that strip, that would be awesome along the ocean to kind of grow that, because unfortunately it floods every time there's a high tide and strong winds, but and rain. But there's also some other areas I think possibly along Veterans and that you can go up as long as you're providing the spots to go with it, and you're not creating so much congestion that's kind of like turning this town into a pan.
So I look at it this way: you can put places there with parking. Ultimately, when they leave their parking, the streets become congested. Isn't that like you have one is parking 1A is congestion in the town, traffic in and out every morning. It's insane. I've said it a number of times on this show. Oh yeah, by the way, this is episode 67.
Hello, Christmas.
I've come back and forth to Winthrop for, I don't know, starting since 1987. And every time I went back, there was more cars. That's the first thing I noticed, more cars, then houses and buildings going up where they weren't before. And I just saw it from the outside looking in, just growing and growing and growing. And it's like a balloon that's eventually going to bust. Not that the town will bust, but
right.
You can put those developments there and you can find the parking, It's when they leave the parking that creates the street problem. These streets are taking a beating on these cars. And so that's the thing that I don't think anyone's really looking at. Well, I'm sure there are people looking at it. I'm not alone in this thought, but that's the problem. That's the problem.
Kurt raises a point I was just going to bring up too.
I think Winthrop is. Oh, sorry.
No, it's okay.
No, go on, John. Go on, John.
Go ahead, John. I'll make this point after you.
Yeah.
I mean, I think Winthrop's a little unique in that we have two entrances to get in and out of this town. And so it is a lot more like focused traffic. So, but I think that it's a bigger issue too, as far as like traffic patterns. Wouldn't it be nice if we started to like not only do more telecommuting as a city and as a country, but also stagger the traffic in terms of shifts so that you're having like 4 or 5 different waves of traffic as opposed to always going. Why is 9 to 5 still real? Like, it doesn't really need to be that way. It seems archaic and like old school. Like, we need to modernize as a society too. And so some of these problems are Winthrop. Some of these problems are bigger than Winthrop. But I agree. If you can't get in and out of town, then you're really like it's a problem.
Yeah, it's like ants stuck in an ant farm. You can see it through the glass. All these roadways and there's ants all filling these pathways throughout the whole thing. And they all end up in the same place. Yep. That's what Winthrop is turning into. So I'm sorry, Todd.
Yeah, it's okay. So going back, John, this is obviously before your time here. We were given lots of promises when they developed Governor's Park, when they developed Fort
Banks.
Then they developed Seal Harbor, when they developed the place down by CPYC.
Atlantis Marina.
I'm sorry, PPYC, Atlantis Marina. And yeah, they're all generating positive tax revenue, but you can never ever outrun the expense. And again, like exactly what I said is going to happen then. Every labor union wanted their chunk of it, and they got it. And I don't want to debate whether or not they deserved it. Doesn't matter. The math is still the math. It's not biased. It doesn't take sides. It's simple math. So the reason I brought up growth is because I try very hard to make the point. It's not going to matter, development or growth. It's not going to change the equation. It's just going to make it more complicated and more crowded. That's it.
Yeah, development is a real touchy issue in Winthrop. That's for sure.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's like the old school crowd wants things to stay the same or even reverse. And the crowd wants things to get, more developed. And somewhere in the middle lies the answer, I'm sure. And it's usually where the truth lies. But
and somebody, again, this issue came up. Somebody sent me an email, and basically based on what we're talking, it has to do with what we're talking about. The new multi-story building currently under construction at 5 Fremont Street was the subject of a cease and desist order. The order issued several months ago, but now construction is resumed. If you know, how was that matter settled with the town?
I was so proud of Tony when he found out that there was construction going on that was defying the rules. It was cease and desist immediately. It was like
thanks to me and Todd.
You guys were part of that.
We were the catalysts, I think. We were the catalysts of it. Yeah.
Did you see when those the family went into the town council meeting?
We were in touch with them the whole time.
That was shell-shocking for a lot of us. We did not know there was a 1.5 foot departure from someone's window to the new development. That was atrocious. So I was super supportive of Tony to just get it closed down and resolved professionally. Since then, I do not know I noticed that the development's happening again, and I didn't know if they came to some happy resolution. There's got to be some money on the line there to make that family happy. Or some concessions, or they're going to have to redo part of the building.
I'm sorry to interrupt. We got a Christmas card from them, actually, thanking us for all our support. And really, we bulldozed through this thing. Like, we were not letting up. It was every week. We were just hammering. We were going at it. And we got a lot of people's attention. And that evidently put some pressure on the developer. I don't know. I can only assume. But things change. But I can tell you this, and Todd has the Christmas card. In it, they say that, a lot of people think that we got paid for this. And they said that's furthest thing from the truth. They didn't really go into more detail, but they didn't say, we want money. Yeah, they had honorable, requests from them.
I think that there's rules that they should just follow, and if they needed to like redo a section of the building, I know it'd probably be a fortune to redo, but
Doesn't matter.
sometimes you have to redo it.
They were wrong to begin with.
Yeah, that's it.
Exactly.
That's
Which
it.
is scary that it actually happened to begin with, that it was allowed to pass through. And that's where the checks and balances needs to be kind of reviewed and make sure that everyone goes by the same rules. There's no use variance that could be given by 2 or 3 people or one. It should be a planning board should be involved at that kind of level.
There was a
It's
lot
too
of
big of an issue.
sketchy, and we're not going to beat it up here with you, but there was a lot of sketchy things
Yeah.
going on with how things got signed off, who signed things off, who didn't get to see it. The planning board never saw anything. It was just, so we're not done with that. We're going to readdress that in 2023 also. But let me ask you another question. What do you think of bed and breakfasts?
No, don't you
And-
mean Airbnb?
Or Airbnb or bed and breakfast? That's what's going on down in the maze. There's a house that's kind of turning itself into, and the question I got is, are these multi-story buildings consisting of micro condominium units, apartments, developments? No, okay. In the placement of bed and breakfast in a tranquil residential neighborhood, is that considered responsible development? The town doesn't collect any additional taxes from a bed and breakfast. In fact, the town does not collect any additional revenue from a bed and breakfast. So how do you see that? Is that within your scope, number one, as a town councilor?
Well, considering that, the ORC actually put it on one of the suggested changes, it would have been nice if you actually put some real meat behind that one, but we'll take that one up for you. Don't worry, Chad.
I'm missing something. That's okay.
We punted that one to the council.
Yeah. I received it. I'm
okay.
now fumbling the punt.
Only because enforcement, the whole issue is enforcement. That is the linchpin. Without enforcement,
that's
it's
a big one
useless
for most of
to
it.
talk about it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, it's enforcement is a big one for all kinds of it goes down to parking, it goes down to everything is enforcement, signage, so even the laws and the rules of the zoning. So but as far as transient lodging, I think that's the bigger question. I think that's going to be reviewed, and I think that I'm actually been pushing it hard to try to get it on the agenda for months. And I know we've got a lot on our plate right now with this with what's happening with the end of the year. Holidays came in, but I think that Jim's going to put it on the agenda as soon as possible once we get these suggested changes passed or voted down or whatever happens with that. And then I think that the transient lodging will be taken out. I do think Winthrop is a transient lodging. It's a hospitality. I mean, this place was 42 or 44 B&Bs at one point. This place is built for it. Look at our ocean front. We're meant to have beautiful bed and breakfasts and
Or
hotels.
Airbnbs. Same thing.
Airbnbs.
Yeah.
I know it's
I w-
changed now. And so I think that the laws and the rules that were passed with Boncori in place are not up to date. They really need to be revised, because I think what's happening is that the buck is being passed, and Airbnb and VRBO, they don't care. As long as they keep getting paid and there's no problems on their end, they don't care. So they're not
Here's-
forcing their actual constituents and their customers to uphold the rules of the town. And there are people that are getting away with it, while others are having to follow the rules to the T. And so it's not fair, and it's a wild west right now of transient lodging in Winthrop. And so I feel for people that are both on either side. I don't know if I was next door to an Airbnb or a bed
You
and breakfast.
wouldn't
and
want it,
just-
John. You wouldn't want it.
No, I wouldn't.
They're coming in at all hours of the night. It's not fair. We live in.
It's not neighborly.
You can restrict it to the beach areas if you want, but then you'll have the people down the point up in arms and the people who live on the beach. I mean, you're never going to satisfy
Now,
everybody.
I don't think you can
hard.
stop it. You can't stop it. You can only contain it and have X amount allotted, I would think, for the town. Plus, I believe they have to pay a licensing fee or
They
some
do.
sort of fee to the town.
Inspection fees, licensing fees.
If you
all
go
that.
on Airbnb and look at Airbnbs in Winthrop and just compare it to what's on the town
I
record,
did that, Scott. I literally,
Right.
that was one of the first things I did as a town councilor.
it's easy to do.
It's like 9 registered
Yeah.
Airbnbs, and there's like
Yeah.
26 when I looked up, and that was just one search one time. So
So
there's
that-
got to be like 4 or 5 times the amount. Right.
You just need somebody to go there and from the town and say, "Hey, knock on the door."
No,
There
so
you go.
I actually have been speaking to a few people about this a little little above my pay grade, but they're actually saying that you can actually put the onus back on the umbrella company, Airbnb, and make them honor the codes of the town. And
Okay.
so it's not up to, it won't be as much us just enforcing everything. They won't even be able to actually be allowed to be an
That's right.
Airbnb.
Yeah.
And so that's what Boston has done. That's what Lydia, so there's some people that are working with different rules that have already been put in place that are more effective, that we're going to try to get something more modernized and responsible in there. But as of right now, it stinks because there's not enough rules in place. There is one issue on, I believe it's right behind your house, Todd, on the, is it
Oh, it's on Circuit
Lauren?
Road, on Birch
Circuit,
Road.
that's right.
Birch Road.
45 Birch, 45
Yep.
Birch, that's right.
I know the
And I
house
feel bad for
exactly.
Ken and his partner, and I feel bad for the neighbors too, because with more clarity, there would be no problem. With the more clarity of the rules, there would be no problem.
Yeah.
And, you know, they probably wouldn't have invested in that nice, quaint, idyllic neighborhood if they knew that there was no chance of a good, you know, a bed and breakfast there. So I think
Yeah.
bed and breakfast, by just for clarification, bed and breakfast is like 3 or 4 rooms. An Airbnb or
Is an
transit lodging
apartment,
is 1
a
or 2 where
house,
the owner
or a room.
occupied.
Yeah.
It's a different story, and a B&B connotates a lot more commercialism and a lot more foot traffic and a lot more random people coming around.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Interesting. I'll say, well, the other thing too, though, going back to enforcement, John, I
mhm.
know a while ago, there was this long while ago, this might have been 15 anyway. There was some discussion about parking meters and enforcing, you know, we couldn't afford to pay someone to make sure that they were enforcing the meters with tickets, right?
Right.
So one of the suggestions was, you know, just like the meters around the cars, the neighborhood parking, pay
Yeah.
them a commission for every ticket they write. Because the cops don't want to do it.
That's a pretty cool solution. I mean,
Well,
I
the
don't know
cops
if it
don't,
would actually go through.
well, because the cops had a grievance about it, and why? I mean, think about that. What's the issue with it? The cops
Yeah,
don't
why
want
are
to do
they
the job. They're
grieving?
not manned to do. They don't have the manpower to do the job, but they don't want us. You know, there was a grievance filed. I don't know if it would be filed again, but I don't see why there's a why not? Why not try
You
it?
know, I would love to see our police do more like along the lines of stopping the drugs and the crime and
Right. I'd rather have them
along
doing.
and
Yeah.
handling calls and issues that are like
Yes.
very where only a police officer can handle. Whereas
Police
parking,
work.
yeah,
Police work.
we had a vendor that would actually drive around because I remember living on over next to the Elks at the Winthrop Chambers building across from Lewis Lake, and there was someone driving around looking for non-stickered cars all the time, and even in the parking lot
We
there.
could hire a local person, a kid, geez, a younger kid to do it, for God's sakes. It's not hard. License
You
doesn't
don't
have a
want to put
sticker in
them
the
in that
window.
position. You don't
Okay,
want to
so
put
then give a retired person the job.
somebody
You know what
has
I
to
mean?
be.
Isn't that a
Yeah.
Beatles song?
You know,
Someone
we
confronts
we
them, then you got a problem.
we could do this. We could do this. We could do this. It's. We don't need to have. I mean, we could do this. But anyway,
I do
I
think that
digress.
now that one of the accomplishments we have done is try to pass some of these parking regulations in the center and on all the municipal lots. And I'm excited to see the enforcement take place because those rules and regulations, those ordinances are meant to both help the residents have a place to stay every night and also being reasonable towards the businesses so that they have a place for their customers to go to, especially in the CBD that's challenging. But that whole Crest area, that's got a great parking spot, parking lot, but over by the High Tide and McGee's Corner. So I think that enforcement will make that regulation come to fruition and it will be smoother.
I just got a text message. Board of Appeals will be taking up the proposed bed and breakfast at 45 Birch Road this Thursday evening. See the town website for further details.
Nice.
For what the town website is worth.
Yeah. Hey, John. Hey, the new town manager said he's working on it. I'm going to give him a chance.
Okay.
So John, I want to switch gears a little bit here. I want to bring up it might be an old wound. We're going to open up a little bit here. We're going to talk about the Somerset tree. I know you are a proponent. I know you are. You've said it, and I agree with you. You're a proponent of sidewalk safety. You're a proponent of trees. I think we agree on that. I think we like, right? The question The question that I have on that is, and this actually was a question asked by someone on Winthrop Votes as well. I don't know how you voted to keep the tree with that, the way that sidewalk, if you saw that sidewalk, you know, the way it was like TPing. Um, so I wanted to get, I wanted to get your, in your headspace on that question, because I do think that's an important one.
I mean, I'll be honest, I did go back and forth multiple times, and it was a very hard decision. And I really like Mike DeLuiso. I think he's a wonderful man, and he's a fantastic parking clerk. He's so thorough and so intelligent and even keel. I really like him, and I felt horrible for the family. Um, Ultimately, I had to, you know, listen to there was, I believe, 5 different arborists that spoke, and all but one said it was a healthy tree. That's what I heard in my head. And so, and I felt as though the sidewalk was fixable or remedied. And so, but m- I think that the story's not done there. I don't know if we're like, this is a tree. That means that it can be cut at any time, and it's not over until, I mean, so I do know that I've been checking in with the town manager to make sure that the tree has been properly pruned, and that the workaround that was proposed is getting implemented. I know hopefully things have been at least that the family can continue their life without the worry of a tree falling on them. That's ultimately what I think. You can't live with that kind of fear comfortably, and they've been made to feel comfortable knowing that tree is safe, and as soon as it feels, then it's got to go. And I would hate to have anyone live in fear like that. It breaks my heart. So it was a tough decision, and ultimately it came down to you know I believe it was 5-1 arborist or 4-1 arborist that said it was healthy.
So, and just, I want to be on the record on this one too, because John and I have discussed this angle of it. In the end, he and I disagree on it, because I think the people come first, and it's not, definitely not ADA compliant. It's really dangerous, but that's another story. What I thought was a great compromise, and I'm disappointed it didn't happen, was they were going to plant 3 new trees. And I agree, that big beautiful tree is far better for the environment, if you will, than the 3 little ones. It gives off more goodness, but at the same time, that one tree is not saving the whole earth. And
No,
secondly, in 25 years, if that tree gets enough, even if that tree gets 50 years, guess what you're going to have there when that tree comes down? No trees. What would you have had there? 3 trees with 50 years of growth potential. So to me, we sacrificed the greater good to save one tree. One.
like I said, this story's not over, and I do think that if we haven't, you know, answered the call of the ADA compliance, that's an issue right there unto itself. And then, and if the tree is showing signs of uprooting stuff that's actually like dangerous, then it needs to go. It's not that, I mean, it's not over because there was one vote, and it was a hard vote, and it was really challenging, but and my heart does go out to the DeLuisa family, and I hope that it can be resolved in a way that they can feel comfortable in their own home.
I just got a text. The quality of life in the town of Winthrop is directly impacted by airplanes arriving and departing at Logan Airport. What, if anything, have you done or proposed to do to address the noise and pollution emanating from Logan Airport and its ever increasing aircraft traffic?
That's a huge one. It's kind of like a David Goliath story. I was trying to participate with that committee that was with Donna Riley, and Hannah Belcher's now trying to take the reins on that one. And it's basically a lot of the people that over in the point are most directly affected. Although we on the court, I mean, over here in the maze, I mean, I can hear it every morning when they start around. I wake up. Even though it's been years, if I don't have the AC on or something, I still wake up, so it's real. And I know that on that side of the house, you see, if you clean those windows, that's the black soot. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So it's real, but it's a David Goliath story in that, you can have like little old Winthrop. It's like this tiny little mouse yelling at this gigantic figure. And, without like a team of like, there's been stories of where they had one lawyer, I believe it was um, the gentleman down in the center. Um, he's Anyway, he was sitting there with one or two people and he was fighting a team of like 7 to 8 lawyers. And there's only so much you can get done. So I think that we need to team up with other towns and get stuff done. And that's really where it's at, because we can't, as a single town, get stuff done. There are national laws that they have to follow. And so we should be benefiting more as a direct, you know, recipient of all that air traffic and noise.
Aren't the other
And so
towns
we should
around there
have-
getting concessions other than, and Winthrop's like the only one that isn't getting anything out of this or any type of
I
attention?
mean,
What about Lydia? What can Lydia do for us? Or Jeff? I don't think
Yeah.
they can help us over there or not.
Let me see. So we have about the tree. I guess it broke someone's. I can't see who it is. Todd, can you check?
No,
Broke the
but I'm
restraining
Mike.
wall.
It's probably one of the DeLuisos. It's broken my
Yeah.
retaining wall, and I have no way of fixing it.
It's broken my retaining wall and I have no way of fixing it. I actually spoke specifically about that with the town manager and asked him, have you guys fixed that
He
retaining
won't
wall?
answer their
He showed
emails
me
or
in-
anything. It says.
Holy
Now
crap,
it's
that's a
affecting the
different story
front
than I
stairs of their home. This is this.
Yeah, it
This
sounds
is a
like it
problem.
might just need to
Yeah,
go.
this is a problem.
I was a little shocked that when Cala first said the workaround with 2 crosswalks would cost somewhere in the vicinity of
Doesn't make
11,000,
sense.
all of a sudden it changed to like around 30,000 when the actual vote was made. And then it's like, okay, now there's all of a sudden starting to, the stories are changing. We need to, look at this again. So I believe, what's his name? John, he's disabled with blindness and he comes to a lot of
Morgan.
meetings. His last name, I believe, is
John Morgan.
John Morgan. I thought he brought it back on the agenda,
He
and apparently it didn't get actually put on.
Well,
the
this
agenda.
is also somewhat in the hands of the um, Commission for Diversity, Inclusion, and Community Relations, because it's community relations.
This is
Oh, yeah.
Lucy DeLuisio.
Lucy DeLuiso
Yeah, DeLuiso. So she's the one. 11,000
was to take,
was
the
to
tree
take
down.
down the tree. Now address the ADA issue.
Hmm.
Oh,
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I'd be open to another vote if the
Tree's
problem's
gotta
getting
go.
worse. So,
it's not
Yeah,
going to
it
get
sounds like-
better.
yeah,
Like,
I
we have
have-
to understand that
Can it-
this is a progressive problem, and it's not going to get any better.
I mean,
And it's temporary feel good moment when you save a tree, but when it starts affecting someone's lifestyle and their property value, sometimes that overrides the feel good story of saving a tree. And these
I don't
people
think it
have
was-
to be able to function.
I mean, I feel as though it got politicized. I don't necessarily take a political stance left or right. I try to be as pragmatic as possible, and I just try to vote right down the line as far as what is the most practical solution. And at the time I was hearing that it's a healthy tree, it's not going to hurt anyone. And it may be uprooting a little bit of concrete, but that was an easy hour, a few $100 fix. That's what I was hearing. And then as far as the ADA compliance, it sounded like it was a there was a decent workaround that wasn't affecting parking spots and it wasn't too bad. Like there's
See-
not a lot of foot traffic down there. But by the sounds of it, it sounds like the tree's not getting any better. It's only the roots are going further in towards their house.
Yeah, root
So-
damage is a whole nother thing that the people that love the tree don't see. And that's, look at this. This is a shame. She said, I'm considering selling my house because of this tree. I mean, how can we let somebody in the town that's lived in the town, that loves the town, be forced into a situation like this because they won't cut down a tree that's affecting her life and her lifestyle. She has to see this every day. This cannot be an easy thing to look at and deal with, and watch her property just start slow. It's a slow, steady roll. The wall, the steps, you know?
Yeah.
Cut the roots because it's the town's tree. See, this has to, just the fact that she said she might have to sell her house.
I can't cut the roots. It's the town's tree. Right.
Yeah,
right.
it's the town's tree.
Thing. Even though the roots are on her property, she can't cut the roots.
That seems bizarre to me. It's your property. You should do whatever the hell you want to do.
But it's connected to the health of the tree. So you cut the root, you kill the tree. That's probably what was told her, I'm assuming.
Yeah, it's a
you
good
can't cut the root because you'll kill the tree. And the
all
tree
of
belongs
that
to the town, so
all of that tree stuff has to be looked at again. We got that matters all got to be in terms of the ordinances, the rules, how it works.
So Todd, we had Todd, Todd, we had the Shore Drive condo that we railed on.
Yeah.
And I think we won. We had 5 Fremont that we railed on and that we won. I think our new cause in 2023 is helping these people get their house back.
The
turning the pressure. You can't have a person living in the fucking town saying, I'm going to have to sell my house. I don't care. That infuriates me.
Yeah, he's mad.
I'm thinking of selling my house. Pardon my language, John. I'm sorry about that, but I mean, come on, man. That to me is upsetting that she said she has to consider selling. And I'm not showboating. I'm serious. Someone shouldn't have to live like that because people wanted to save a tree. Look, I fucking love trees. I love nature. I love birds. I love them all. But once it starts affecting my property, it's war because I have to live here. I have to live in that. I have to pay to have that fixed. Or I can't even pay to have it fixed.
Hey,
ultimately, can't sell her house. Don't sell your house.
Tony, and I'll ask him if why this hasn't been resolved yet, as far as the wall and some of the repair in the roots. Why this is, and then if we need to get it back on the agenda and get it voted again, we can do that.
The tree guy. What's the tree the
warden?
Yeah, he's supposed to do. Why am I blanking on his name right now?
Tree department guy.
Paul O'Donnell.
Yeah, that's his call. Now you guys don't. I don't think if it goes back to an 88 thing,
we wrote that ordinance so that he could get it resolved himself.
Right.
We did that. That was rules and ordinance that wrote that. So we were part.
Yep, Paul O'Donnell. Thank you for refreshing my memory. Well, I hate to pick at that scab, so I'm gonna move past that and pick at another scab though. John, I'm with you on this one. We're gonna go to when they come to start cutting trees down for the bike lane and the tips program. We're chaining ourselves to the trees. All right.
I want to see it. I would fly up for that.
I think honestly, this tips project is a little upsetting. It's like saying, getting forced to take on, all these like rules just to take some money that's being handed out. It's like, it is upsetting, but I do feel like when I spoke to Steve Calla about it, they want to plant as many trees as possible there. There's money there, and I'd also like to say that the Winthrop Housing Authority, Peg Lyons, is on board with the trees being planted too. So there's actually consensus there. There will be a ton of trees being planted along that corridor.
So and by the way, like the reality of it is, in the end, as long as they're replacing them, I don't care. I'm consistent. My uproar is all the other tree people that were squawking about the big trees need to stay here because they're better are silent on this issue because it suits the other part of their agenda, which is the stupid effing bike lane. Nowhere. The
worst place
bike lane
you could put a bike lane.
Nowhere.
I won't be biking on that.
The worst place.
I will not.
One of the biggest hills.
I would not ride my bike.
I want everyone to hear me loud and clear right now. This bike lane thing is a giant scam to make the roads more uncomfortable. They're sacrificing people's lives. People die when you put more bike lanes anywhere. People die more.
Stats don't lie.
It's ridiculous. And
Stats
now
don't lie.
that whole path. Did you see the letter that Frank? Oh man, what's his? Yeah, that right. That path
He's
is
railing
traveled.
against them. He's going hard against them, and he's actually gotten
He
made
got
some
nothing.
headway.
Yeah,
No, he
well, I
actually, you know what he did? He actually got them to come up with actual renderings to depict what it's going to really look like. That was him. That was
Who are
his
we
effort.
speaking on? I missed who are we speaking?
Frank
Frank
Constantino.
Constantino. We're trying to get him to come on the show because we're all in simpatico, and I want him to explain to everybody if there's any hope. But
I think that
you know,
honestly, though, from what I hear, it's too far gone. That it's already underway. They've already gotten easements and agreements. So we're well underway. What's going to have to happen though is midstream, mid project, there has to be that same amount of pressure that we're applying, that you guys are uproaring about right now, has to be applied during the actual construction process to make sure those trees are being put and planted. And I think it's going to happen. I do. I really think that both parties that I know of
but
are all on
the
board.
trees are the least of the problem, really. This bike lane is a dangerous, stupid thing. And by the way, the insult to it all is during the time when it should be used the most. Rush hour. It's going to have cars in it turning into Fort Banks School. I mean,
On a hill.
Kick me in the balls, please. Pardon my language, John. But wow, don't insult my intelligence. This is all, I don't even know what the goal is. All over cities and towns like Cambridge, Malden, and Arlington, and Winthrop, we have bike lanes to nowhere. They just stop. And
I
people
don't
come out of
understand.
them.
If you're going to create a bike lane, it should be
Bang, they get
contiguous.
killed.
It should be the whole way around. By the
But
way,
you
have you
can't-
noticed there's a beautiful bike path behind that whole boardwalk along the marsh that goes
Yeah,
behind the
yeah.
Fort Banks? It's beautiful. It's awesome. I love riding my bike there. That I would do. And guess what? It serves the same purpose. It gets you around that Revere Street area where all the congestion is. I will say that Kennedy Drive solution, now that's worth money. That is a big deal. And I'm hoping this TIPS project solves that problem. So in that regard, I'm all for it.
John, let me ask you. Oh,
Yeah,
go on.
ahead, Scott.
Yeah, so we're talking about all these problems and all these things that need to be fixed, et cetera, et cetera. What are your thoughts on term limits? How can let me just state it this way. How can a town council president get anything done in, what is it? He's up for election every 2 years.
2 years.
It takes 3, and even in a business, to really get moving, to start the ball rolling in a positive direction. The town council president should be, and was that under your committee, Todd? Was that?
Yeah. Oh yeah. We want 4 years.
Being debated right now.
But that's not going to happen for another 8 years or something, right?
No.
25.
2025 when we'll vote, if it gets on the ballot. And that's one of them, I think, John, you can correct me if I'm wrong, that is not looking good.
The term limits for the TCP, that actually, you know what, the last conversation we had at the town council was pretty fruitful, I thought, because we actually delineated a little bit more. We broke down your section 1 proposed change into not just 3 sections, but more like 4 or 5 in terms of the actual council makeup, in terms of the actual term limits, which I think you have right now is B and C, but we broke 1A up into 2 different pieces. So I thought there was progress there. So, as far as the term limits, I actually was trying to count the votes, and I couldn't really put a number on the exact number of votes that were supportive of changing. I will tell you though, without, I agree with you about the 2 years to get anything done is really challenging, but that doesn't mean that he can't, campaigning. I used to be one of those guys that hated campaigning because it got in the way of governing. But I realized that campaigning is actually a form of governing. It's a form of pushing the conversation forward with the audience being the residents, and the people that are actually supposed to have a say are involved. And that, guess what? They actually get to do what? Winthrop votes. They actually get to say their piece through a vote. How else do they have their way to be able to make impact?
John, that is governing, but that's distracting you from the work in front of you. You're pulled away from the progress that you need to be making when you're spending.
It does pull you away. It does. It's no doubt about it. There's a lot of time spent campaigning and not governing. I think Jim would love to be working out a way to get that old middle school resolved, and the public safety building resolved, and the water loss resolved.
Can't do it in 2 years.
It's so much. And I mean, honestly, I see him over there at the town hall, like at 3 in the afternoon, regularly, and he's
Oh,
putting
yeah.
some serious hours in. So I'd give him some serious respect and kudos for doing all that. I mean, I just, I don't know how you can get it all done. That the old middle school project. I mean, where were we on year 7 or 8?
And by
I
the
mean,
way,
that's even once
there were
Parking.
many of us.
Municipal parking. That's what I say.
I was there when we voted on the new school, and I was in a real tough spot because I didn't stick to my principles completely. I voted for the new school. I did. I didn't get the guarantee on maintenance that I wanted, and no surprise, I have to go down there. I had to go
We're
down
working
there and
on that.
video
It
all the
sounds like
gum
we'll
and
be
everything
okay on
stuck
that
on the
category.
was stuck on the bleachers and stuff. I'm having to video it and send it to the school committee like this is absurd. It's still happening. But long and the short of it, we got the new school, but we all said that middle school is going to sit there. And it's been sitting there. And it's just an unbelievable, awful what it should be, what it could be. Look, I'm an old school guy that doesn't think we can develop residential anymore. But that doesn't mean we can't turn that rink area into 2 or maybe 3 sheets of ice, a whole, one of those boutique hotels, maybe even a sports type of complex. Hockey will carry it. Those hockey tournament
Honestly,
people fly into Logan
you're
all
talking
the
Get
my
time.
investors.
language, Todd.
Yeah.
This is the type of stuff that's why I wanted to be on town council, is to do good for the town, but specifically for that old middle school. It's like, what the heck is going on? So I've come to realize why there's so much inertia. There's a lot of red tape that's involved. But at this point, I think the town manager is looking for the town council to make some decisions and push the agenda, sell it to the public, see what we can get the public to agree to, and then move forward. You can't. You gotta do something. You gotta do something. And
You're gonna
so
sell the rink? Don't touch the
Oh.
rink. Don't touch the rink.
That's
you
sacred
will
ground.
always have ice in Winthrop. You will always have ice. And as far as I'm
If you
concerned,
sell
that's
the-
the only way to
If
get
you
anything
sell the
passed.
rink, John, if you're the one of the councils that's part of selling the rink, just make sure you got your head on a swivel.
That's sacred ground.
It's a scary
Sacred
thought.
ground.
It really
I'm
is
not doing
sacred
any of
ground.
that.
I mean,
I don't want to jeopardize the rink. Why would I? This is Aruzioni
Add
and
to it.
Winthrop are hockey. I mean, we
Yeah.
could literally
Winthrop
have tournaments that are like national. I mean,
Oh,
we
if
have-
you did
we have
something like
national.
that, Winthrop would be put on the hockey map. Just in the
Would
state
be.
of Massachusetts alone, the revenue that would pour into that town.
I
just for
love
hockey
the
tournaments
idea
would
of
be
a
amazing.
hotel there with a state-of-the-art hockey facility, along with the community center. That's all of a sudden turns into a mega, like it's just becomes like a beautiful, like trickle effect. Everyone's getting businesses, restaurants are benefiting, stores are benefiting, and the schools aren't getting
Airbnbs will
overrun.
benefit. Airbnbs.
John can
No,
put
the hotel steals their business.
professional photography. You could be there taking pictures, selling your pictures to people. I
look
mean,
at
you
that.
know.
Now you're starting to get a little. You can't line my pockets with frame
Well,
jobs.
that's after
photography.
you're
Time
off.
out.
That's after you're off the council. You can do whatever you
Time
want
out.
when
That's
you're off the
possible.
council.
Then sure.
Kurt just came up with the early line of the year. First, the rink needs to pay their water bill. Already the line of the year right there,
That's
Kurt.
2023's line of the year.
What a
right
good
there.
way to-
He found that discrepancy. He did. He found that. So I give him
I'll
kudos.
tell you, he's
We're still
our
waiting
guy.
for an answer to it, though. What the hell? When you guys gonna pay it?
I know. Has shown some responsibility and some accountability. He's changed it so that you can't just get gas whenever the hell you want. You have to have you're metered, you're measured, you have a card. It's definitely the tone is changing thanks
Good.
to Tony.
And that's
Yeah,
what we
good.
want. Listen, John, we don't want to keep you any longer. It's 9 o'clock on a
We
Monday
went over the
night.
time limit. We're having too much fun.
So
Yeah.
not as bad as everyone thinks, right?
No, I will say
We're not
I
bad
obviously
guys.
don't have all the answers, and you can't get it all right, and but I am trying my butt off, and we will get as long as I'm on board, I'm going to keep on trying to do my best. So I appreciate you guys having me. Thanks,
Yeah.
and good luck with your show, and good luck with good luck to Winthrop.
Yeah,
Come on anytime, man. You're welcome
yeah. You can
anytime. If you
anytime
want to
you
come
want,
on
John.
and talk about something, you know what you never got to tell us? Your business.
Oh yeah.
Right?
What about it?
What about it? Why don't you? Did you
Free
talk
plug.
about it at the
Hey,
beginning? Free
Hey,
plug, man.
I'm going on year 15. I wasn't like your dad doing 50 plus years, but
You'll
I'm
be
going
there.
on year
You'll be there.
15. That's so cool that your dad was a photographer. You and I have a lot to talk about.
Well, we had a little back and forth on Facebook. You saw my camera collection. I think you saw a
I did
picture of my.
see it. I didn't see it. I was just looking for it on Winthrop Votes. Is it on your private page or is
It's
it
on my
Winthrop Votes?
private page. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
that's why I didn't see it.
I have a nice collection of what we call now vintage cameras and 8mm movie cameras, and
We had that too.
I just love that stuff, man. I have and my father has a house full of them that will eventually be filling my house, I think, of old cameras, Nikons.
Start digitizing it now.
Yeah.
Telling you, before it gets washed up in some storm down in Florida, flood in Florida.
Well, I live inland in Bocas.
Jeez.
I'm 7 miles from the beach. I'm not getting flooded,
good,
so
good.
I don't worry about that. But John, once again, my friend, it's nice meeting you. Nice meeting
Likewise, Scott.
you.
Thank you, Todd, for getting us
I know
connected.
we might have beat you up a couple times during the last 67
I was
episodes.
scared that Todd might turn on me, but he's been loyal as a friend, and I give him some.
Well,
kudos
I'm going to
there,
say
too.
you might get beat up a couple more times, but it's only business. It's nothing personal.
Part of the
It's
game.
nothing
Part of the
personal.
game. Everything's personal, by the way, Scott. Everything's personal.
You suck.
I hate you.
I was trying to be nice about this.
I hate you. You suck. John, but, and
All right, guys.
listen,
Have a great night. Thanks again, man.
yeah, thank you for serving your service.
Yes.
You know, whether or not we
Yes.
agree with it, you're glad you're sitting there.
Appreciate it, guys.
Talk to you later,
Take
John.
care.
All right, John. Talk
All
to you,
right,
buddy.
Well, it was a good interview.
Very
Yeah,
good.
enjoyed
Very
that.
good. He did well. Yes.
Yeah, he did.
Everybody that comes on does well.
Yeah. No,
I think it's time that we kind of start inviting, like Hannah. Hannah hasn't been on in a while. I'd like to talk to her.
yeah.
Even about the airport or anything like that. We still have our favorite at-large counselor that we haven't had on in a while.
Rob.
Rob DeMarco. Haven't
You
had
watching,
him on.
Rob? Where are you?
And in 2023, I think we'll have Jim on. I think he should come on more. I'm thinking the chief of police, now that he's not wearing two hats.
I think he's ducking me.
Okay.
I think he's ducking me. I'm going to keep talking to him.
Let me see. Missed pushing him on his recall views. We'll get him next time. We'll get him next time.
He's talking about the ORC work. Yeah.
Yeah. But I think, these are people we can, and maybe we'll get the town manager on eventually.
Trying that too.
This is what I think we're going to move more toward this in 2023 is getting more people from the town. Come on. It doesn't have to be a town council. It could be anybody that works for the town and just has input that has
Something. Oh, you froze. You're frozen. Did you have something more you want to say, Scott?
What's that?
Oh, you were frozen there for like
Yeah, I just saw
10 seconds. Oh, it's doing it again. This is good.
something.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Scott. Yeah, you're gone. Well, I guess it's just me taking us out. If you liked it, share it. Please do. Remember, all politics starts at the local level. We were glad to have John on here tonight to give us his views on what's happening here locally. Of course, please share our live streams, join the page, share the page. We really are here just trying to make Winthrop a better place. I know many people don't agree with that because sometimes we're fiery. Well, some of you are just as fiery, so we all probably should put a mirror in front of our faces, right? Have a good night. And thank you again. You guys are the engine that keeps us going. Otherwise, it would be me talking to myself at this moment, and you don't want that. Stole your outtake, Scott. See ya.